Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Port Charlotte 10-year-old. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of Port Charlotte 10-year-old. Port Charlotte is from the Bruichladdich distillery on the Isle of Islay, and the distillery dates back to 1881. It closed in 1994 and the current distillery has been open since 2001. This particular whisky is a heavily peated single malt whisky. It's 10 years old, it's natural colour and non-chill filtered, and it retails for £60 in the UK. This particular whisky is aged in first fill and second fill ex-bourbon casks, and it's also aged in second fill French wine casks. Should we find out what it tastes like? On to the whisky. So before I start nosing and tasting, let's have a quick look at the colour. I'd say that's like a straw colour, really is quite light indeed. Let's start with the nose. So the first thing I get with this is peat. I'm getting like bonfire smoke. There's also a slight medicinal tang. There's some sea salt. There's also some vanilla. I'm also getting some candied orange. Let's move on to the palate. Yeah, so the mouthfeel is oily and warming. I'd say that the peat smoke definitely continues on the palate. It's quite a wafty bonfire smoke. It really is encapsulating the palate. This is obviously a heavily peated whisky. It's 40 ppm as far as I'm aware, and yeah, as heavily peated goes, I would say, although it is very smoky and very wafty, it definitely fills the palate. It's yeah, I think some of the other Islay whiskies which are similar ppm possibly come out across a little bit stronger, but yeah, this is still a decently peated dram. Let's have another sip. Yeah, so I'm starting to get sweetness now. I'm starting to get vanilla, green apple. There's also a little bit of peppery spice and a nice charred oak note. It's yeah, it's got the right touch of sweetness for me. It's a little bit light, a little bit well, I'd say it's natural, but it's probably on the sugary side rather than the sort of fruity side, but it's yeah, very nice indeed. Let's have one final sip. Yeah, so the maritime notes that I was picking up on the nose are also present on the palate. The sea salt is definitely quite noticeable, but I think the sweetness is what dominates for me. I think the wafty peat smoke is almost secondary. I think once your palate, or my palate, gets used to that, I think it takes a slight back seat because the sweetness takes over. Obviously, I do like sweet whiskies, and a lot of peated Scotch whiskies do have a nice sweet sort of vanilla or sort of icing sugar note to it, and this is no exception. And I think in terms of complexity, I'd say it's quite light, but the flavours that are there are really quite bold and strong. In terms of finish, I'd say it's very long. It's smoky. The peat and the oak notes definitely linger. The vanilla fades and there's definitely a gentle spice that remains. In terms of value, well, as I said, this retails for £60 in the UK. Obviously, it's a heavily peated 10-year-old Islay Scotch whisky. And although I don't think that is massively expensive, I think there are definitely better value whiskies around. But the £60 retail, I think, is almost advisory. You can find this for £50 most of the time, and you can even find it cheaper than that occasionally. I think if it's £50, I think this is a good representation of what Bruichladdich are doing. I think this whiskey is definitely bold. It packs, huge flavours, but there is a little bit of me thinking that potentially there's better out there for the money. I think some of the other core range from some of the other big producers are probably slightly better. And I think there's probably a good number of independents that can knock this out of the park. And I think although this is a nice whiskey, I think if you've never had a Port Charlotte, it's definitely something you should aim to try. And you may prefer this to the likes of Ardbeg or Kalila. There's, plenty of mainstream that people prefer, or people maybe cling on to because that's the whiskey that first got them into peat. But as a fairly novice Port Charlotte drinker, I think although this is very nice, I think potentially there's other peated whiskey that I would reach for in this category. If you've tried this, then obviously let me know in the comments what you think of it, and if there's another whiskey that you prefer instead of this, that you would always buy or prefer to buy instead of this, then let me know your thoughts and share those in the comments too. Obviously, peated whiskey isn't for everybody, and this is a heavily peated whiskey, but for those that are into peat, I think it can be quite a divisive subject. And I think there will be possibly Bruichladdich fanboys that will be, telling me off and saying why this is better than others. But for me, it's a great whiskey, but I just think there are better out there for the money. Hopefully you found this interesting, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Stauncher. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment? And please consider subscribing for more videos like this.